Today on the Norse Benchwarmers podcast, we will be discussing the WWE Royal Rumble, both AFC and NFC Championship games, some NKU Basketball, and of course, wrapping up with the Norse Benchwarmers 2-minute warning. Hello and welcome to the Norse Benchwarmers podcast. I'm your host, Colton Smith, here joined by producer Josh Northcutt.
How's it going?
And guest Savannah Belote.
Hello.
How are we doing today, guys, on this just beautiful day outside?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
I'm doing good.
Good. So, we're going to start today with talking about the WWE Royal Rumble coming up. A lot of stuff coming up in the world of wrestling. So, I'm just going to let you two take it away.
All right. So, obviously, this past Sunday was the Royal Rumble, one of the biggest events of the year. So, we can start off with the Women's Royal Rumble. What was your thoughts?
I think it was the best match of the night, honestly.
Easily.
There was so much going on.
Yes. What was your biggest surprise or takeaway from the whole thing?
Biggest surprise had to be the debut of Jade Cargill coming from AEW. And seeing her come in, immediately eliminate the biggest person in the ring had to be the best moment. And her facing off against Bianca Belair.
Yeah, no, that was a star-making moment by far. And it was one of those things that event turned around and made me believe in Triple H's future plans, especially adding in TNA, Jordan Grace, and I'm not sure if Naomi's going to be full-time back or if she's on the...
I think she is. I think she's going to be on SmackDown.
Very nice, very nice. Following that, we had the Fatal 4-Way. My recap of that is there didn't need to be the run-in. Can Roman Reigns just win one time without help?
Exactly. It was very underwhelming.
Yes. Best way to describe it. Next up, the U.S. title match. Logan Paul, so far his career, has he impressed you?
No. I'm not a Logan Paul fan.
Okay,
I gotta say that.
That's fair. What did you think of the match?
I thought it was all right. Obviously, I wanted Kevin Owens to win, so the disqualification at the end with the brass knuckles really just made me not super happy.
Yeah, the fact that this is like the first time I've ever seen the ref catch the knucks on somebody's hand like that before, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes no sense at all.
Especially since it happened back at Crown Jewel with him and Rey Mysterio.
Very true. And then obviously the main event was the Men's Royal Rumble. Your thoughts?
It was okay. I've seen better. I've seen worse. It was kind of middle of the road.
Yeah.
But
did the right man win?
I think so, yeah.
Being a Punk fan, I say no. But now knowing about the injury, Cody deserves, I guess, to go finish his story.
Yeah, I hope he finishes that story because obviously we saw he became the fourth person to win a back-to-back Royal Rumble match behind Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yes,
that is actually very true. Impressive stat right there. So all in all, for the pay-per-view, if you had to give it like a grade scale, what would you give it?
Maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10.
6 or 7? That seems about right for me. Like you said, there's been a lot better Royal Rumbles, but this one still had those moments where it's like, okay, this is the Royal Rumble. But going back to the men's real fast, it kind of didn't have those moments.
There was not a lot. It was just mainly everyone from current rosters. Obviously, we had the call-up of Braun Breaker from NXT, and the only return we really had was Andrade from AEW.
Very true, which honestly I'm big about Andrade, so I'm interested to see. I like the whole LOW storyline where he could fall into that. And Braun Breaker, I think, is going to be an absolute superstar.
Exactly.
Which triggered a memory of Pat McAfee and Braun Breaker and Omos's little stare down. Did you get a good chuckle out of that, or did you think it was kind of a pointless
I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. Also, did you hear that Pat McAfee's back on commentary?
Yes, Monday nights, and then I guess they're moving Wade Barrett to SmackDown.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how him and Corey Graves work together.
I think it'll be all right. They're both pretty good at commentary.
But don't they both kind of play a heel character where it's going to be a little bit harder to see one of them be a face?
Yeah. We'll just have to see what happens on Friday.
That's fair enough. Did you say you had some stats for the Royal Rumble that you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah. So for Bayley being the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble match, it's actually her first win for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
We've previously had Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley win their matches. So I was excited to see Bayley and how her story is going to turn out.
Yeah. So who do you think she goes for the title with?
Obviously, she keeps saying Rhea, but I feel like at some point Damage Control is going to turn on her and she's going to pick Io.
Yeah, that's the way I'm leaning as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing that storyline turn out. Bailey was my pick to actually win it.
She was mine too.
So when she came in 3, I was very nervous about that. What else you got?
We had some debuts and returns. So for the returns, we obviously had Naomi from TNA. We had Liv Morgan back from injury and I guess jail.
Yeah.
She was in jail. For call-ups, we had Roxanne Perez from NXT and Tiffany Stratton as well. And obviously, we already touched on Jade Cargill and her star power. But that's about all I have.
All right. And then one more thing about the men's Royal Rumble. They kind of hinted towards maybe some WrestleMania matches. So I'll just throw out the idea. Uso versus Uso needs to happen, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And then Drew versus Sami Zayn seems like a pretty obvious choice. So what do you want Seth to do now? Since the Punk rumor is being hurt, what happens with Seth Rollins?
Obviously, we saw him tell Cody on Raw last night to pick him, so it's kind of just a back and forth to see who Cody is actually going to pick.
My idea was Seth versus Gunther, title for title.
Oh, now I'm thinking about it. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's a classic memory of those kind of things and whatnot. So, you mentioned you have a podcast. You can go ahead and advertise for that.
I do have a podcast. It's called The Diva Discussion. It's on Spotify. I just talk about wrestling of all kinds. It's a really good time. You should all listen.
I definitely will give it a listen. Is it just you, or do you have other people with you?
It is just me currently.
Very nice.
Just starting out, but
very
it'll
nice.
be a good time.
Yeah, that's really cool stuff there. Like, so like when is it on? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So far I've been doing every Wednesday, but there's only one episode out, so it should be coming out soon.
Yeah, well, if you guys are interested in the world of WWE, be sure to check out that podcast. But we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Ben Miller on to talk about the Doomsday Super Bowl matchup for most fans out there and recapping the AFC and NFC Championship games. Thank you, Savannah, for coming on.
Only in the forest can you see this. And this. And this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
I didn't know it could do that!
Because one trip to the forest can spark a world of difference.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go, like hiking, canoeing, fishing, or camping. Or create your own adventure with family and friends, and you might just see this. Your moment's out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Norse Benchwarmers podcast. I'm here joined by Josh Northcutt as always, and Ben Miller. Welcome back.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right, so we have what I called a Doomsday Super Bowl. I mean, it's going to be a great game, don't get me wrong, but it was not the matchup fans were looking forward to this weekend.
No, it was not.
And between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. And let's go ahead and look at how we got here, starting with Kansas City and Baltimore. And one thing I want to talk about first is that I know no stats really stood out to me. I mean, Kelsey had an outstanding game, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I just feel like the Chiefs just mentally beat the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens just weren't ready for this game, and you could just tell it. 8 penalties for 95 yards. I mean, it just looked like the Chiefs knew that they needed a little extra to win this game, and they did that. Travis Kelce out there instigating and whatnot. before and during the game. It just really looked to me a lot of stuff off the field contributed to that.
Yeah, I mean, like the beginning of the game though, like the Chiefs, they were outstanding. Like that defense really, really showed up, and the Ravens, they did not look like themselves, and this might hit Lamar's chances on winning MVP possibly.
I mean, I can't really argue that. And your whole point about Lamar not looking himself is part of the scheme issue. He dropped back 46 times in that game. Lamar Jackson should not drop back 46 times in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Period. And the running backs combined for 6 carries.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it last week. Ravens are known for running the ball. The week before, the Chiefs gave up over 150 yards rushing. The Ravens went away from what got them there. It makes no sense at all when it comes to game plan.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That was the point I was going to make, was that we're going up against a Kansas City team that their defense is obviously great. Their running defense, though, is kind of middle of the pack typically, and you're, one of the best, if not the best running team in the NFL? Like, why did we get so complacent throwing these deep bombs to Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham there in the second half? I mean, yeah, technically if everything went the way they wanted, it would have worked out, but they went away from what their identity is, and a lot of times when you do that in the playoffs, it's not going to end well.
No, it is not. Like I said before, like that Chiefs offense, actually, I'll start here. Like the Ravens defense, like they've been arguably the best defense all year in the league, but it just didn't show. It just didn't show at all. Like that Chiefs offense, especially Travis Kelce in the first half, like they were on fire.
But I think that was the whole point. It was the first half Chiefs defense, or I mean Ravens defense, defense. Yeah, Chiefs offense, Ravens defense. In the second half, both teams combined for 3 points.
Chiefs scored none.
Yeah, defense was just out there stopping them left and right. The issue was the Ravens went away from what the Ravens do best, and then, like you said, mental mistakes.
Yeah, mental mistakes, and
you want to move on to the next game?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. Sorry.
You're good. So obviously the 49ers rallied from 17 down to beat the Lions 34-31. Huge 2 failed fourth down calls by Detroit is a big change in that game, along with the Gibbs fumble. Your thoughts, Colton?
Yeah, I see your point there. I see a lot of people calling out Dan Campbell for his fourth down calls. While I agree, yes, should he have taken that field goal? For sure. Don't get me wrong. But Dan Campbell did not drop a key fourth down reception. Josh Reynolds did. Dan Campbell did not miss a lollipop interception 5 yards from the end zone that went into Brandon Ayuk's hands. That was the defense. And Dan Campbell sure as hell did not fumble the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs did. On 1st down and 10, I should mention, in their own territory. All within, a span of 5 minutes, it felt like. It seemed very close.
Yeah, I mean, like this game, going into it, I knew the running game was going to be the key factor between both teams. Like
you said that last week.
Yep, exactly. Like Gibbs and Montgomery, I look for them to be a key factor in this game, along with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, they looked good in the first half, but second half it just went away.
Well, it went away because they ran the ball 7 times in the second half.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. 7 times, and they were winning the game, running the ball 7 times.
Yep.
What kind of sense does that make?
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what we talked about with the Ravens, is that they went away from their identity. You know, they got as far as they ended up still with the most rushing yards in the game.
Yeah, 182. And 3 rushing touchdowns. And the difference, though, Jared Goff threw the ball 41 times.
Yeah.
Jared Goff should not throw the ball 41 times.
Exactly.
Especially when you're winning the football game.
That was the point I was going to make. Especially when you're up like that, you want to rush even more. Like, if you have that much just running the ball early, why wouldn't you stay running? And if you need to, then call Jared Goff into the game and have him start passing more if they start coming back. But it was I didn't feel that sense of, all right, we need to just maintain our lead here. But that's just how Dan Campbell coaches, I guess.
Speaking of the Dan Campbell coaching, I wanted to clarify. I was not pointing out that Dan Campbell made a mistake on the fourth down calls.
Yeah.
Analytics is a new thing in sports, and also what got the Lions there was going for it on fourth down.
Exactly.
That team goes on fourth down in the opponent's territory more than any team in the NFL. It's who they are. And I saw today Dominic Foxworth stated, are we playing football or are we playing soccer? I want to trust my guys to make some football plays, not a kicker to kick the ball. I see nothing wrong with it.
I mean, in a way, like, I respect the Lions going for it on 4th, but in a way, I just feel like it's just safe just to take 3 points and just go from there.
It's easy to look back now in hindsight and say that this is what lost the game, because technically it is. They would have had a tie and gone to overtime and had a chance to win if they took that field goal. But, I mean, without Dan Campbell, without his coaching style, they would be in Cancun right now. They wouldn't even made the playoffs probably. So I personally see everyone's point, but Dan Campbell is a dog. He's a great coach.
Absolutely.
Should be coach of the year, personally.
Yeah.
Should be coach of the year. That man has – when he first got hired, I'll be the first one. I was a doubter. You hear about these kneecaps biting this and that, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? But then you watch them play, and that's what they are. They just bite and chop, and just they're just a nasty team. They represent the city of Detroit perfectly, and that's why that fan base loves them. I know you said you watched a lot of the clips. Did you get to happen to see the fans at Ford Stadium together watching it?
No, I actually did not see that. What happened?
There had to be like the entire lower bowl. I have no idea the crowd size, so I'm not going to throw an estimate. But the entire lower bowl was just packed inside the dome, filled to the brim with just Lions fans all watching together. And it looked like they were actually watching the real game, like in person, because how rowdy it was getting, the celebrations. It was so cool to see. I wish we could do it here in Cincinnati, but with no dome and Hamilton County being a little strict, it's never going to happen.
Right, of course. But what the Lions did in that game was they exposed a lot of flaws in the Niners game that they need to work out by the Super Bowl when they face the Chiefs if they want to become victorious. And what do you guys have for that game? What are your predictions?
For me, since I won't be at the show next week, I'll definitely just throw it out there. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win, unfortunately. Travis Kelce's proposed to Taylor Swift after he wins the MVP. Simple as that.
Travis Kelce proposing. Well, I don't even want to go there, but I personally have the Chiefs as well. I mean, it's just something where, like I said last week, no stats or anything to point out. It's just Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce in the playoffs.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, as much as I want the 49ers, like I'm going Chiefs in this one. Like, I feel like they cleaned up their mistakes from the beginning of the year. Like, the receivers, they're not dropping passes anymore, and they really cleaned that stuff up. So I'm taking Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it'll be a hell of a matchup for sure, and I can't wait to watch it. But when we come back, we have a rough week in NKU basketball to talk about, so be sure to stay tuned for that.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Norse Benchwarmers podcast. Colton Smith here, joined by Josh Northcutt and Ben Miller. A rough week in NKU basketball. We did get a win in the women's, but the men's 2 gut-wrenching losses. Let's start with the women's, though. Let's start positive. They beat Youngstown State 62-56, their second conference win of the year. Went and played Purdue-Fort Wayne and lost 61-55. But some positive stuff to take away here. Kept the games close. The offense wasn't as explosive as last week, but like I said, keeping it close against some solid conference opponents there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the Youngstown State game. Like, Carter McRae, impressive as always, putting up 13 points, 12 rebounds, another double-double. Noelle Herbert and Macy Bevelin, they played really well, especially getting that three-point shot ready. And Callie Davis, not her best performance, but they didn't need her in that game.
Yeah, one thing I did notice from both of these games was that you had Carter McRae doing her thing, of course. Macy Blevins had a great game, you mentioned.
Yep.
And but outside of that, there was not a lot of production. I think that's what really held this game back. I mean, in the Purdue-Fort Wayne game, if you get another guard getting double-digit points, then you get probably a win there. Like that's a big difference maker. Is you need to have more threats outside of just Carter McRae.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think they're really working hard to try to get that rhythm going. I mean, I still believe in this squad. Like, even though it's not the year that they wanted to, like, Macy Bevelin, like I brought up, she's been tearing it up as of late. And Callie Davis, Kamari Mitchell-Steen, Kalissa Lacey, like, all great players. And, like, they just got to figure out that chemistry, I think.
So looking forward to this week. They got Detroit Mercy and Oakland, both at home. I feel like both could be winnable games when you're at home, you know, get the crowd a little pumped up. Yeah. But I know it's a little weird start for the Detroit Mercy game tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, they're starting at 11 a.m. It's Education Day or something like that. There'll be a lot of students, you know, watching from the crowd, and it should be a fun event. But the men's 2 gut-wrenching losses this week. First to Purdue-Fort Wayne, 63-58, which was a close, hard-fought conference game. You're going to have those. But then to go to Youngstown State and just get obliterated by about 30 points.
Yeah.
Marquez Warwick, only 8 points. What happened?
I mean, to be honest, it just looked like they just didn't show up like they did against Green Bay, where they all scored in double figures. And I think this is an example of why they're missing Sam Vincent.
I was about to say, they are definitely missing that second player, second scorer. Marquise Warwick had 27 of the 58 versus Purdue-Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
27 of the 58.
Crazy.
There was no help anywhere else, which is unfortunate because over the last few games without Sam, they did have that help. And as for the Youngstown State game, it's like no one showed up.
Yeah.
They just laid an egg, unfortunately, and I guess sometimes that happens in a long season, but this is one of those teams, they're battle-tested, and come March, they're still going to be in it.
Yep.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. It would be a crime to not see Marquez Warwick get a second chance at March, but I mean, you got to show up. You got to show up throughout the season if you want to get there. Obviously, still quite a bit of conference play left for them to turn it around.
Absolutely.
But, you know, it's just really a roller coaster ride all the way up after 2 outstanding games against Green Bay. And I can't think of the other team. But just crashing down here last week against Purdue-Fort Wayne and Youngstown State.
Yeah.
Well, good news is they got Wright State ahead this week. And hopefully they can right the ship. It's the only game of the week, so long week of practice and get that win.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I think it's a great turning point against obviously a huge rival for us, and a lot of stuff like that. That's where you see a team turn the corner and make a run to March.
Yeah, you know, just a quick preview of this game. Like Wright State, they're number 1 in a bunch of categories. Like number 1 ranked in offense and number 1 ranked in 3-point shots. Like Tanner Holden and Brandon Newell, top 2 scorers in the league.
Yeah, it'll be a tough match for sure. They'll have to bring their A game if they want to beat Wright State. But when we come back, we have the 2-minute warning, the moment you all have been waiting for.
All right.
Be sure to stick around. We'll be right back.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I want to thank my mommy for loving me so much,
For taking me to the doctor when I broke my foot.
For leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back. Colton Smith here with Josh Northcutt and Ben Miller, sorry. Completely blanked on your name. We are here for the 2-minute warning. Josh, take it away.
Simple. I'm going to fire off some questions. Give me the first thing that pops in your mind. Everybody got it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it.
All right, here we go. Ben, who is the best coaching hire of the offseason?
For me, it's John Harbaugh. I'm looking forward to seeing how he'll get the Chargers back on track, and I think he'll work really well with Justin Herbert, because Herbert, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Of course. Colton?
I got Raheem Morris to the Falcons. A lot of people are comparing that to D'Amico Ryans of the Texans. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be that, but I think this is a talented team that with a competent coach can make the playoffs.
Harbaugh went 59-36-1 with Colin Kaepernick at quarterback. He is going to kill it with Justin Herbert. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's a great
Next
point.
up, who is your MVP of the NBA, Colton?
Right now, it's Devin Booker. I mean, he has been on an incredible run. I mean, it's just a run over the course of the season. I would probably say Joel Embiid, but Booker's on an incredible run. I had to point that out.
Ben?
For myself, it's Joel Embiid. I mean, leading scorer in double-doubles. He's averaging 31 points per game. Embiid for me.
SGA for me, first place, Oklahoma City, averaging 31, 6, and 6.
That's nuts.
Who is the most important player for the Reds in 2024?
I got Jonathan India simply because is he going to stop the trade rumors but with his play, or what is his trade going to bring to the Reds?
That is the same one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. If he produces on the field, it helps us. It also might help at a trade bait around the deadline to go out and get an arm. Ben?
For myself, I think it's Elly De La Cruz. I mean, last season, 91 hits, 13 home runs, 44 RBIs. Since he signed with the Reds, he's been a huge factor, and I look for him to have a great 2024 season. Excuse me.
And lastly, what matchup are you most looking forward to on Saturday between the 3 top 10 teams?
For me, it's number 5 Tennessee versus number 10 Kentucky. When you look at these teams, top 5 offenses in the SEC, and the difference will be if Kentucky can hit those 3-point shots.
Golden.
I got Houston and Kansas, number 4 and number 8, respectively. I'm excited to see Houston, their biggest test so far in the Big 12.
For me, it's very simple. Duke, North Carolina, 24-24 the last 48 meetings, and they both have combined for 76 points. There's no rivalry best in sports.
Yeah, that's an easy argument there. Well, thank you, Ben, for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Be sure, if you're looking for some other great podcasts, look no further than the Not So Small Talk show for your pop culture fix and the Raid for some more sports talks. And thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Norse Benchwarmers. We'll be back next Tuesday, but in the meantime, check out our other friends' podcasts over at The Raid on Tuesdays and Not So Small Talk Show on Thursdays. Again, you were listening to the Norse Benchwarmers.